When someone dies in the grip of a powerful rage, a curse is born. Coincidentally, when a movie studio does an unnecessary remake, an audience is bored. Or every audience. I can't imagine that any audience is going to find The Grudge 2020 interesting because it's fucking terrible. To reiterate one more time, fucking terrible. Spoiler free for now, but I'm going to get into spoilers pretty goddamn quickly because there isn't a whole lot to this movie, even though it tries to add some layers to the whole, the whole Grudge story and lore and everything. If you're unfamiliar with the Grudge theme, go watch Ju-on, the Japanese classic, or watch a 2004 version with Sarah Michelle Gellar and various people. That was the U.S. version. Even the Grudge 2 and the Grudge 3, the U.S. versions, were, even though they were terrible, they were somehow better than this. It was like everybody was in a completely different movie, maybe on a different plane of existence when they were doing their acting, because nobody had any cohesive interaction. And it's like everybody, even like a mother and son, or like a cop and other cops, or a husband and wife, whatever, nobody felt like they had any kind of like proper interaction. Now that could all tie to the fact that everybody was cursed, because if you don't know, if you step inside this cursed house where there's a vengeful spirit, it haunts you, it takes you over, you meet a violent death, or you commit violent acts and, kill other people. That's essentially what The Grudge is. Now that sounds like the makings of a pretty goddamn good movie, and even if you're remaking a remake of, of an original, okay, cool, you could do something with it. Even if you're remaking something that may have been inferior to a Japanese version, even though, again, the 2004 version wasn't that bad, you could maybe do something with it. Enough time has passed, 11 years technically since the last Grudge movie, and 16 years since the, the original U.S. remake, to where, okay, you could have a different cast, you could do some good stuff and everything. This is one of the worst remakes I have seen in the last 20 years. And I know that Hollywood is kind of out of ideas, but this movie apparently only cost $10 million. I would sure love to know where the fuck that money went, because this looked cheap as fuck. The whole idea of this woman being this vengeful spirit and haunting people and possessing people or anything should be, it should be perfect for just like a tightly controlled movie where a curse can go about anywhere. It can, it can get anyone, it can, be anyone. But no, they somehow managed to make the movie aggressively boring. And I just was absolutely baffled by it. I could tell within the first 15 minutes, I go, okay, we are in so much goddamn trouble. This movie was complete and total shit. To give you an idea, this lady is at the Grudge house in Japan, and she brings the curse back with her. That's essentially it. Now the curse is in the U.S., and various people get cursed by it and meet violent ends or commit violent stuff and all that. And that's basically what the whole thing is, without spoiling any of it. It takes place in the year 2004, 2006, which is supposed to be the present day. And you can tell by the flipped cell phones and stuff like that. Or it even takes place in some parts of 2005. It wasn't that the flashbacks got confusing. They just got convoluted, where it was almost like, okay, you're padding this because you have nothing better to do. And that is a big problem. Whether any of the original, any sequels had flashbacks or not is inconsequential. If you are going to do a new version, don't try to reinvent the wheel. Just make it scary. And it wasn't. A lot of times it was dark for the sake of dark, basically to hide the cheap ass budget. No good characters at all. No, very one-dimensional characters, or even in the case of some didn't have any dimension. Like, it was actually an insult to one-dimensional beings. This just had nothing to it. There was no meat to it. There were no scares to it. Any of the scares were like, hey, let's drop the noise and let's do the jump scares. Even the whole which I can't do right now. I can't do the Grudge noise, that whole thing that she does, wasn't even scary. And I mean, again, trying to do a shot-for-shot remake, hey, this ain't Gus Van Sant's Psycho, thank fucking Christ, that was really terrible. But trying to do a shot-for-shot remake isn't going to work either. But trying to do something where it's like, hey, let's tell it in these different years and stuff like that, and let's figure out a way to make the story cohesive and everything, and you're really going to care about these characters. Except you fucking don't. It was almost like an anthology movie, but told in a really bad way. Like, having various people affected by this curse isn't the worst idea in the world, but just the way they did it, it was horrendous. And it wasn't that it was confusing. The plot's very, very simple. You can figure that out. And if you've seen, again, the Japanese version or the 2004 US version, you know what to fucking expect. But at least they could have tried to make it scary. They could have tried to make whatever. Yes, it's supposed to be a bleak, depressing movie because it's about a curse that just wears down on you and everything because it's a vengeful spirit. Okay, it isn't supposed to be happy-go-lucky. But there's just nothing good about this movie. Nothing good, no good performances, no nothing. It's shot terribly. The font choices are absolutely abysmal. The whole thing of where they show 2004, 2005, 2006, or they show what city they're at or anything. I don't know who made the font choices, but good God, those were absolutely horrendous. That was like one of the main things that stuck out to me. And when they had the quotes and everything, you know, when someone dies in the grip of a powerful rage, a curse is born, or, you know, the various other quotes that follow after that, which I'm not going to quote verbatim, mainly because they're kind of scrambled in my head. The whole point is of this movie, you know, okay, you do that and everything, and then, okay, let's make it interesting, and no, we don't. Like, nothing, you don't even see the Grudge ghost all that much, and when you do, it's in the form of somebody else. And it's not really all that interesting. The jump scare stuff, the font choices, the music, everything about this movie is terrible. If this is not, and I know we're just 3 days in to 2020, but this isn't in my top 10 worst movies of the year. By the end of the year, I will be very, very shocked. I saw 62 movies last year that were released in 2019 and had a lot of fun reviewing them, even the bad ones. Had this been released at the end of last year, this would have been top 3 easily. This might be right on par with how bad the Black Christmas remake was. And if you haven't seen that, please don't fucking see it. It's fucking terrible. So yeah, I'm just going to get into spoilers right now. But yeah, don't see this. Do not see this movie. It's really, really goddamn bad. But anyway, I'm getting into spoilers right now. So 3, 2, 1, and go. Spoiler territory. Okay. So you have a woman, Fiona. She's at the cursed house in Japan. And then ends up bringing the Grudge ghost back with her. The spirit. She sees it in the garbage bag. And then you know, the spirit appears behind her. But like very, very little. And then she ends up killing her husband and daughter. And then that house is cursed. And then you got John Cho from Harold and Kumar. He's a real estate agent. It's told in another time period where him and his wife are doing something. He's trying to be a good, you know, father figure to the girl, even though the girl is dead and he doesn't know that. And that's another thing about this movie. You also got the cop with the son and stuff like that. And she gets into this case and gets a little more freaked out and stuff like that, as anybody would when they find out that, you know, a parent killed their kid. But good God, this movie, everybody makes stupid decisions like, hey, this house is cursed, or hey, maybe I should study up on this stuff. Maybe I shouldn't go into that house. This girl seems to be all washed out and clearly possessed, but I'm going to go in there and take care of her because I'm a fucking idiot. I know the stupid decisions usually make horror movies go round. That's not really that much of, you know, a revelation. That actually is horror movie 101. Characters making dumb decisions to essentially advance the plot. But when you have a plot that goddamn thin, and you're trying to stretch it out and, you know, pad it and everything with a bunch of unnecessary flashbacks, and even if they were necessary flashbacks, just badly done flashbacks, it just was absolutely atrocious. I can't get over how bad this was. I was horribly bored by this. Terribly bored. It just was not interesting at all. Now, if there were people that like this movie, fine, cool, that's great. You get the cop, by the way, that she ends up trying to burn the house down at the end and everything, and then the ghost is still haunting her. Because that was shocking. I mean, I really hope they're not going to do a sequel. I really, really hope they don't, because if they do a sequel, fucking hell, it's going to somehow be worse. I will not be surprised if this movie makes its budget back, because it didn't cost all that much, $10 million and everything. It's not, even with the advertising campaign, if the advertising campaign's another $5, $10 million, $20 million, this movie will easily make it back in a couple weekends. But yeah, it's a terrible movie, absolutely, completely unnecessary. It kind of like the Pet Sematary remake. You know, trying to reinvent stuff and have some fun with it is one thing and tell your own version, but okay. Am I going to fault the director? Am I going to fault the people that wrote it? I mean, I'm not even sure this thing was written. It definitely wasn't well acted. And that's not to say that the cast can't act. Because you even had the older lady, Lynn Shay, who was in, and that sounds like some kind of weird shaving cream, but she was the old lady in Insidious. She was in this. But anytime they focused on another couple or another people that were like, done in by this curse, I just didn't care. Because it's like you kept seeing them make dumb decisions where it's like, this person's clearly possessed, but we have to stay in the house. Well, no, actually, you don't. You could fucking go to a hotel. You could do that, but no, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to do anything smart? Do yourself a favor. Wait, if you're going to watch this, wait till Netflix. Maybe wait till Amazon Instant Video. Fortunately, I had an AMC Stubs pass and I got in for free. But good God, if I had to pay for this, I would have actually been demanding my money back. I mean, it's not the theater's fault, but this movie is horrendous. Nothing good about it. Any of the jump scares aren't very good, and you get the various ghosts that the people that, the ghost possess, the spirit possesses. It's like, I'm going to send them all after these people. Okay, the curse is like reborn and, can get out and do a whole bunch of stuff, but I know what it is. It's a simple story. You can tell it well, but with this, they just did not. It was dumb. Horribly dumb. Anyway, F. If it wasn't obvious from the way I, started this review, F. I may put a poll up here somewhere. Like, share, subscribe. Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.